Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here is your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope that you're enjoying this new year. I hope that it's gotten off to a great start for you. Today, we have a little bit of a kind of a different show. We think metaphorically, especially as we begin things like a new year, about, reaching new heights. And today, we're actually going to reach new heights with somebody who actually does heights as his avocation in life. Mr. Adam Lopardo is going to join us, and he's a local rock climber. He's going to talk with us a little bit about that, and not only doing it, but in some ways what that metaphor is for life and what it's added to his life. It's certainly a passion of his, I can tell you that from just my brief conversation with him thus far. So, grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, settle in. We're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute to talk a little bit this morning about rock climbing and climbing to new heights maybe in this new year. So, stick with us. We'll be right back.
The whole purpose of screening is to catch people who have a significant smoking history early enough where we can do something about it and potentially improve the duration of life. The minimum recommendation for screening is 30-pack years. So usually people who've smoked more than 30-pack years are the ones that we're screening. If we start screening yearly with low-dose CT scans, we can reduce the risk of death from lung cancer by 20 to 25%. Stage 1, 2, and 3 cancers potentially can be cured. When it becomes stage 4, the possibility of cure falls significantly.
Well, again, thanks for joining us for another Sunday morning here at Faith in Our Hometown. My guest this morning, Adam Lopardo. Adam, welcome to you.
Hi.
It's nice to have you with us this morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have got this passion, so tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us how you got passionate about rock climbing.
Certainly. So I was born and raised in the Joplin area, and in Joplin specifically. And growing up, I was kind of like a little bit overweight, a little chubby, and I did the sports that like a chubby kid could do. So like I was on the wrestling team, and I did a little bit of football, but not very much. And I never really like found my calling. I didn't feel like I did a lot of different things like all throughout school, and I always like to joke that like I did a lot of things really mediocre, but there was never one thing that I was just like super exactly. And basically like I met my wife, and we went on this trip to Colorado for our honeymoon, and it was I was 21 at the time, and it was the first time that I ever saw mountains ever in my entire life. I had never left the four-state area prior to that point.
Okay.
And so
there's a lot of the world out there beyond
I know, yes, you're absolutely right.
I like the 4 states, but there's a lot of world out there.
There is a lot of world out there. You're absolutely right. And so, I got to experience that at this transitional point in my life where I was really just like, I was just so amazed. Like I just couldn't believe that there was so much more beyond like what I had seen, and like that this is just all here. Like seeing mountains for the first time is just like, wow, it's just such a profound experience. And so I had this kind of this premonition that like, okay, I want to experience more of this. And so that kind of started this journey of like, wanting to be more involved with like outdoors, like and be more in the outdoor culture. And so like kind of accompanied along all of that, like I started like, deciding that like I wanted to do more things the outside. So like I started, just going on like day hikes, like over at like Wildcat Park, here in Joplin. And then that kind of led into like I started doing more like, like camping trips with like friends of mine, like where we would just go and like, buy a campsite and then just go and camp out in these like, kind of not so wilderness areas, but just, like camping areas. And then that led into wilderness backpacking and like going out and wanting to see, more of like the, the real deal, like actually going out into the wilderness spots and seeing like nature in its like rawest form. And then that led to rock climbing. And rock climbing for me kind of came in the form of like I just went out to a lot of these places, and I just wanted something that I watched a documentary and about rock climbing, and I just was so like just amazed. Like it just spoke to me. Like, and it was like, for once in my life, I like kind of had this focus, and I was like, okay, this is what I really want to do, and that's kind of how that all started, and it's just been a journey ever since. So
interesting. So basically, just it was kind of like one thing led to another, and suddenly now you're climbing mountains.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Now, so what kind of so talk to me a little bit about what kind of, because people watched all kinds of different things on TV, and so do you do the rock climbing where it's just all freestyle and no ropes and all that stuff, or you do like the mountain climbing with the the rocks and the hammers and the pins and the ropes and all that kind of good stuff?
So it can get
all of it.
Definitely. So you like to try to do as much of it as you can.
Right.
Now, granted, there are within rock climbing, there are all these different sub-disciplines of rock climbing. So there is.
You can illuminate me because I don't really know what the. I do not know.
So
I do not know what the substrata are.
No, absolutely. That's I'm more than happy to tell you. So there are three main disciplines that most rock climbers are familiar with, that most climbers practice. That would be sport climbing, traditional climbing, and then bouldering. And I specialize in the latter, which is bouldering. Bouldering is shorter routes, so you're not going to get anything that's like, a big 50, 60 foot route, but it's more along the lines of 15 to about 40 foot, and it is focused on specifically the hardest movement possible. So like you will see.
Wanted to specialize in that.
I wanted to specialize in that. That's right. Yes.
All right. Keep talking.
And then a lot of what people see on TV, a lot of what they see like Alex Honnold and Tommy Caldwell do is a combination of sport climbing and traditional climbing. And then Alex Honnold's kind of a special case. He does a lot of unroped, climbing, free climbing, which is free soloing, where he, completely doesn't go up there with any ropes, and I think that a lot of it too is like Alex Honnold in his particular case, he will like look at a route, look at a climb for a year and a half and do the climb over and over and over again before he takes his rope off and does it without ropes. But he's, enabled to accomplish these huge feats like,
In other words, don't try this your first time.
Yes,
out,
definitely.
et cetera.
Do not try it your first time. It is something that there is, with like bouldering specifically, like a lot of people will say like, oh, well, it's shorter routes, so it's only 15 feet. I could climb 15 feet. But the thing is that, again, it's focusing on the hardest movement possible. And like for the one time that I ascend a route, there's probably 15 times that I fell in at various parts of the climb trying to, figure out what the actual movements are and trying to figure out what to do. So
now when you fall from that 15 feet, are you using ropes and things like that?
It depends. Yeah. So sometimes I will be roped in depending on the height of the climb. Sometimes if I'm like cleaning a route or brushing holds or trying to figure out the movement, I'll rappel from the top of the climb and do that. And then most of the time we have these they're like mattresses almost that we carry on our backs. They're called crash pads, and basically they just fold out, and I have a group of people that we climb with that we can usually get 7 or 8 of those pads out there, and we just make a nice little padded landing for us. If we fall, we land on that padded landing.
So 15 feet, I can see that.
Yes. Yeah. Certainly.
All right. So
any bigger than that, we get roped in, though.
Okay,
usually.
So anything bigger than the bouldering, anything more than like that 7 foot, you usually get roped in, and Okay, so again, this is not done without without some safety, without some kind of an appreciation for that
Certainly.
Kind of thing.
Yes.
And certainly, if you're going to do this,
safety is a huge component of it. Safety is like probably the number one component when you really get into it. Like when you start training for rock climbing, you learn a lot about safety and you learn a lot about the environment. Those are the two big tenets before you ever even touch real rock. So.
Okay, good. Because right now we're striking fear in the heart of every grandma out there that might be watching this morning, whose kids are going to run out and do rock climbing. So
I hope my mom's not watching.
Well, hopefully your mom's starting to trust your experience and your expertise at this point in time. So when you started doing this, so the bouldering is just, again, you're talking short distances, you're talking, trying to figure out some route up a small thing, or why is it called bouldering?
It's because it's on boulders,
Okay, so just kind of over that.
And okay. And I don't want to downplay it because they're not small boulders. They're definitely large, and it's definitely it's definitely quite a feat. Not to downplay it at all, but basically, where bouldering originated was Joshua Tree National Park in California.
Okay, all right.
Yes, and
so I got an image in my mind.
Yes,
now.
absolutely. Okay. And there were a lot of people in the '60s that really were profound boulderers. There was this one guy by the name of John Gill that really kind of took bouldering and kind of ran with it. And where it came from was as a training mechanism for actual roped rock climbing. And so what these climbers would do is they would go and find these shorter climbs that were on these 15, 20-foot boulders, and then they would focus on their technique and honing their skills and practicing on these boulders. And then over time, it became more and more of a respected form of climbing. And you would have climbers that would just focus on bouldering, which is kind of like what I do. value, you know. And again, most climbers will try to diversify themselves, you know, like you'll have like, I mean, like I've definitely sport climbed, like I've definitely trad climbed, but I really just enjoy the aspect of bouldering. There's a huge communal aspect, and I just really like it.
So in this kind of thing, so just to make the mental picture, and we probably should have gotten some pictures from you today, but now that, you know, hindsight's 20/20, sorry everybody. But so, and this would be like one of those where you're just suddenly looking at this, you know, 15 or 20 foot, you know, expanse of rock, and that would be one of those things where you'd say, is there a way to climb from here to here, just using little handholds or cracks or whatever, crevices or whatever is available in that space? And that's what you try to do.
Yeah, definitely. And there are, you know, it's equal parts. There are oftentimes routes that have already been mapped out. So I will, you know, look and research and do a lot of writing down and meticulous, like looking at all the details, watching a lot of videos. And then sometimes the routes have never been mapped out. And so I do a little bit of that
That's
as
what
well.
you have to do.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you have
to like look and see whether or not, if I go this way, there's no crack over here, but over here there's a crack, and I can do that.
And it's also about, you know, too, what looks the coolest, you know, like, I mean, you know, doing something that, you know,
I'm so glad you're so honest to say something.
Yes, that's right. You know, like,
sometimes it's just what looks,
what looks the coolest. Yes,
I like
that's
it.
right.
It's cool. So in terms of this, what does it do for you? What does it do for your insights? What does it do for you spiritually?
So I think that just getting outside, I think that's the first thing, is that like if you want a spiritual experience, get out anywhere outside in the wilderness, get out in Arkansas, get out anywhere in Missouri, go to the mountains, just get outside and just take it all in. Just look at the sky and look at the mountain ranges and look at the hills and
and I'm with you here.
Yeah.
Because I love finding a spot. I love going out. I love exploring. I like hiking and doing those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
But I've never had the desire to like then climb the rocks.
Certainly.
I mean, you know, I don't mind climbing up on rocks. I don't mind doing a climb where I can just, you know, jump from a little foothold to another. But I've never had a desire, just me personally,
certainly,
to like put my fingers in the crevice or do that whole thing of climbing this. That doesn't do anything for me. It scares the willikers out of me.
Sure. And what's funny about it is like I'm not a big fan of heights, honestly, and I'm not a big fan of falling either. And I definitely have tried to.
That's why you're still here.
Yes, that's right. And I think that there is a lot of instances too where like I feel as though that through rock climbing I've been able to kind of push the boundaries of not being scared. You know, like not having to worry about you know falling and not having to worry about heights, and in a way like conquering my fears in a sense, you know. And there's that aspect of it, but then also too just the aspect like I had to change my entire lifestyle because I wanted to become a rock climber, so it forced me to change my diet and really dial in my nutrition. I had to start working out a lot. I had to start doing more things that involved, you know, total like kind of like wholeness of my mind and body to be able to hone my skills to be able to execute on the rock. And I think that was something that was really important to me.
Amazing. Well, I'm talking here this morning with Adam Lopardo. Adam is a local rock climber, and we're just talking about his experience of how he got snagged in some ways doing this. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more with him about that experience and why this is such a rising phenomenon, why more and more people are doing it all the time. Because I got news for you. When I was a kid, nobody did it. So this is interesting. So we're going to be right back after a quick break. Don't go away, okay?
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
Adam, I got to say, I love talking to you because you're so passionate about your topic. And the time is just going like this. But I know that this is a phenomenon that is taken off nationally. Because like I said, when I was a kid, there wasn't such a thing as rock climbing. There were not rock climbing places or parks or those kinds of things. Certainly. And now they're all over the place. This is a phenomenon that's also growing here in Joplin for a lot of people. So how is that happening, and where do people go if they really want to do some of this stuff?
I think that so to address you know what you said about it, you know, kind of being this cultural shift that we're seeing nationally. I think that a big part of it is the feats of Alex Honnold, which was his free solo of El Capitan, which is where he climbed it with no ropes, you know, from bottom to top, you know, and just completed the entire thing. Was just huge, and they made a documentary about it called Free Solo, and that reached a nationwide audience, and that was, I think, the first time. Certainly it wasn't the first time that rock climbing had been on the national stage, but I think that it was the most significant because people that were not familiar with rock climbing could understand the significance of the feat that he did. Like, oh, that is super amazing that he was able to accomplish that. And it
I just look at it and go, how would anybody, why would anybody?
Definitely. Well, and I mean, but if if you watch the documentary, like they definitely go into, like it being this, thing where he dedicated, 5 years of his life, just to looking at this one route on El Capitan. And then he dedicated the previous 15 years of his life to just, dreaming about it and just wanting to accomplish that. So I think at like a really fundamental level, it is just about, wanting to, setting a goal and then executing on that goal, doing anything possible to try to, build that and execute.
And again, that happens in so many ways in life. I mean, I'm sure we don't have time probably to do that this morning, but to talk about rock climbing as a metaphor for life would be kind of cool.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just like, it is. It's just like saying, okay, I want to accomplish this, and I'm gonna put myself in this position where I will study it and figure it out how to make sure that I can do it, that I can do it well, that I can be safe while I'm doing it, and eventually, when I get to the end of that trek, I will know that I will have actually conquered that and climbed it.
Yes, definitely. It's a really, really good feeling too to fail on a route over and over and over again, and then to be able to accomplish it the one time that you accomplish it, because about all the struggle. Maybe and then also too with that, like not only the struggle, but like oftentimes it takes multiple trips to be able to, have one successful ascent of a route. And so like with that comes, multiple experiences where maybe you met somebody new at camp, or maybe you tried a different restaurant, and it's just this experience that you have every single time that for me was the thing that really attracted me to it, of like the lifestyle and the culture. I just ate it all up,
Yeah,
and and to kind of get back to what you asked me earlier, nationally, I think that people are just more familiar with the significance of rock climbing and the metaphor, so to speak, of like, oh, I can apply that to my life. Like, what if I could do something like that? And then locally, I think that a big part of it is like, now there's a culture. When I've lived here my entire life, and growing up, you never saw rock climbers at Wildcat, and now you do. Like now you see people out there actually climbing on rock, and it's more a part of people's lives, and they can go and watch a documentary on Netflix. Certainly the internet has a big part of the cultural shift, because people are able to, research and see these areas that they've never been able to see before. Like myself, I don't think that I would ever went to, Colorado had, the internet not existed, because I never would have been able to, look up all these places and all these different things, that we did. So I think that there's definitely just this, nationally, we're seeing a culture shift, and then I think that that's just starting to spill over into our community as well.
Yeah, so. Interesting. It's. I really have to sit here. I'm a little in awe. I'm always impressed when people can do all kinds of things that I can't do, and there's a million things that other people can do that I can't do. But when I see somebody who's able to master some of that, and like you talked about, having to change your diet and your approach and your mental, approach and all that kind of good stuff. To me, it's amazing that that people put that out there as a goal and then go and accomplish it.
Definitely.
To me, it's just kind of fascinating. I think I'll still keep watching it from the ground, or maybe even from my couch.
That's perfectly fine.
In terms of that. But I am kind of amazed that you and other people get out there and do it.
Absolutely.
So like, how many people, just out of curiosity, here in Joplin, the greater Joplin area, how many people rock climb every week?
There is about 80 to about 100 people that are in this area that are active rock climbers that are going out, every weekend that I'm aware of, that I know of, that are actively part of the community. And then of those, I would say that there's probably about 10 to 15 that are really, really like dedicated people that are what we would call part of the development community, which the development community is this community of people that are going out and like finding the routes, like going out and brushing all the holds, doing the dirty work that a lot of people don't see whenever they see a successful ascent of a rock climb. There's brushing holds, there's clearing up trash, there's cleaning graffiti in the case of Wildcat, there is taking and getting all of like the dirt and grime off of a rock climb, there's waiting for the weather to be right, there's writing down every single move, there's drawing maps, there's all these different elements that aren't even touching rock that go into rock climbing that I don't think a lot of people see. And there's about, like I said, of the 100 people, there's about 15 that are really dedicated to doing that here. So
wow, I mean, that's amazing. So is there an organization that you all belong to?
Yeah, definitely. So you can find us. I'm actually the one of the event coordinators and the director of the Southwest Missouri Climbers Association. And you can find us on Facebook or Instagram. And what we do...
Southwest Missouri Climbers Association,
yes,
if anybody's interested, okay?
Absolutely. And what we do is we're mainly about just being really psyched on climbing and just, really bringing that home for us, I think is the big thing. Like we, spend a lot of time at Wildcat Park. We do a lot of development there. We do a lot of cleanup at Wildcat as well, whether that being, either trash cleanup, which we try to do, relatively often and frequent, to right now we're planning a really big graffiti cleanup on the side over on Mother Nature's Gap, where graffiti is a really big problem over there. And so like I encourage people, like if you just like exploring and you just want to get outside, it's really just a good way to, get involved with the community. I feel like to think that, even though we do these kind of, crazy feats, we're a very approachable and a very inclusive community of people. And for us, it's about exploring and just being in the outdoors.
Yeah, to me, it's interesting. I mean, some of that graffiti that's up at the top of Wildcat, I mean, it's been there forever.
That's right, yes.
I mean, so it's interesting that somebody's now finally, all these years later, because of a new love for a new sport, if you will.
That's right.
Is going to clean some of that up kind of return it to a more pristine, approach.
Well, and like I said earlier, one of the first things that you learn about when you start learning how to rock climb is about leaving no trace and about, taking care of the planet and taking care of the environment and how to, minimize impact as rock climbers and as stewards of the environment. And one of the things that they talk about is like climbers are the voice of the rock. And so like you...
So say some more about that. Climbers are the voice of the rock.
Climbers are the voice of the rock. Well, and like you said earlier, people don't really get to go out and experience, rock. I mean, people will admire El Capitan from afar and say, that is amazing. Like, if only I could climb that. And like, climbers are actually doing that. Climbers are actually climbing it. They're seeing the parts of El Capitan that no one else is seeing. And so I think that it's just a matter of like, we go out to a lot of really remote places. We get to see a lot of really, really amazing things on our journeys and on our explorations. And so we just want to make sure that we're doing our part to try to take care of that and just build that community of like, hey, this is beautiful. This is something that we all want to be a part of and that we all want to help build and take care of.
That's amazing. I certainly have a lot of respect for the, how should I say, the integrated approach that you guys seem to take, toward this in terms of, respect for nature, respect for God's creation, respect for trying to, make sure that it's protected, that it's there for the future generations.
Yes, absolutely.
All those things. I think that that's amazing. A lot of people, would not necessarily know that about, rock climbers in general.
Definitely, yeah.
And I think it's great that you're getting a chance to, kind of put some of that out there for some of our listeners today. So if you say our listeners, say there's a grandma or grandpa here that they know that their kid loves to climb stuff. How would they get them involved?
Definitely.
How would they get them going?
So there are a lot of really amazing indoor rock climbing gyms that are in this area, and there's one in Bentonville, Arkansas. Climb Bentonville. Very easy to remember. If you can remember Bentonville, Arkansas, just climb Bentonville. And it is dedicated specifically towards kids and families. And so, like, if you're wanting to, just see if your kid likes it, go take them to a climbing gym. Pay for a day pass and just let them off to the races. The staff at most of these facilities are very, very experienced, and most of the facilities will pride themselves, I should say all of the facilities will pride themselves on, having really, really dedicated staff that is taking care of all of the precautions necessary to make sure that everybody is safe. Because, it's a really, really fun sport and it's a really fulfilling sport, but the first part of it is safety, always. It's always safety. And I think that you definitely have a lot of like the climbing gym facilities is a really good way to get people psyched on climbing, get kids especially experienced with moving kind of like they would on real rock, and then after they feel confident in a climbing gym, a lot of these same climbing gyms and facilities will do outdoor trips or outdoor kind of like clinics where they teach the same kind of lessons but teach it on real rock and teach you all of the different aspects of it that kind of go into successfully completing a rock climb.
This is great. So And you guys, once again, what's the name of your group that's here?
It's the Southwest Missouri Climbers Association.
Southwest Missouri Climbers Association. So you can check that out in terms of maybe getting kids involved. Again, great suggestion in terms of finding one of the rock climbing gyms to be able to do that. I love it when people are passionate, and I love it when people will come on and just share that passion with me, because and you certainly have got that. I mean, you've been really fun and easy to talk to about it, because
certainly,
obviously the love for your sport shows through in terms of what you're doing. And again, some wonderful things there in terms of what it's taught you about care and care for creation, and leaving it better than you found it, and all those things is all amazing. So my guest this morning, Adam Lopardo, from talking a little bit, one of our local rock climbers, talking about that experience. We're going to be right back to wrap up after this Mercy Minute.
The dreaded tagged photo. I married the love of my life in October, and when I got home that night, I saw this. Frankly, this is every obese person's worst nightmare. You have no control, none, over what other people post. And up until that day, I'd been very careful about how I presented myself on social media. In fact, I generally only posted photos like this. What's sad is that I haven't always been like this. Confession, I've been a yo-yo dieter for roughly 10 years. When I met this amazing guy 3 years ago, he didn't care how much I weighed, but he did care about my health. A month after our wedding, I talked to my doctor and my journey began. Here's an honest and usually pretty entertaining look at how I got to bariatric surgery and beyond. Buckle up, check out my blog, Confessions of a Yo-Yo Dieter.
Well, that has to be one of the funnest segments we've done in a long time, especially in terms of listening to someone who loves the passion of their sport and goes after it. My guest this morning, Adam Lopardo, one of the local rock climbers, just sharing how he got involved in a new sport. It certainly wasn't a sport that was big when I was a kid, but it certainly is one that continues to grow here in our area. We got plenty of rocks to climb around here, and plenty to appreciate in our own area about the topography of our area, especially in terms of the beauty that is here in the Ozarks that we all get to share. I love the fact that he was talking about how to appreciate it, to leave it better than we found it, and to make sure that other people down the road get the joy and the experience and the thrill of doing that rock climbing. And what a wonderful metaphor for life as we begin a new year, that we sometimes have to just look at those goals and try to figure out how to conquer them. And that is a wonderful thing to think about here on a Sunday morning. So join us again next week for Faith in Our Hometown. I'm always pleased and impressed that you join us, so thanks for sharing it with us.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.